Okay, guys. So my wife sent me this TikTok here, and apparently I haven't watched it yet. You know, I like to watch things live with my friends. But from the limited amount I've looked into it, and we're gonna read a quick, like an MSNBC article or whatever before we start. Basically, this teacher in Florida is being investigated for showing like the newest Disney movie on Strange World, which apparently has LGBTQ themes. It might have like a non-binary character. So, like, who cares? She's being investigated. What a waste of resources. Can we talk about that? Like, I get it. You find it, you're uncomfortable with a movie with LGBTQ themes because you're very sensitive, or I couldn't imagine why. But to investigate somebody, that is a waste of money. And like, usually conservatives are talking about how, oh, we're wasting money doing this, we're wasting our tax money doing that, you're wasting tax money investigating this. If you think it's inappropriate, which it's not going, it's a Disney movie, it's not going to be, then just say, hey, you can't show that no more. You're still being a baby, but whatever. But to investigate is a waste of money. Anyway, we're gonna watch her TikTok talking about it. But first, let's read this quick little article, a quick rundown. Florida teacher says she's being investigated for showing Disney movie to class. Jenna Barbie, a fifth grade teacher in Hernando County, said a school board member and parent reported her to the Florida Department of Education for showing students the movie Strange World. Now, my understanding is there was like that whole bill that like prevented talking about LGBTQ themes or whatever in Florida. I don't remember the specifics, but if I remember correctly, it might be a little bit hazy in this old brain. Part of the problem with this whole thing that they implemented in Florida was it gave parents the ability to just like sue, like regardless. They were able to like sue or leverage claims, and then Florida would have to defend themselves, which costs money. They'd have to get like a lawyer or whatever. It's like very bizarre. I could be remembering that a little incorrectly, something to that effect, and that was probably the biggest criticism of it. It was like a big waste of money. It seems like that's kind of playing out here. Anyway, a Florida teacher claims she's being investigated by the state's Department of Education for showing her class a Disney movie with a gay character. Jenna Barbie, a fifth grade teacher in Hernando County, said a school board member and parent reported her. Okay. The 2020 movie, animated movie, stars Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, really? I might watch it now. Okay. And is Disney's first with an openly gay character. Barbie said the movie tied in with Earth Science class, and they didn't have any sexually inappropriate content. I doubt it would have inappropriate content. And also, let's be honest, I doubt this movie ties in with Earth Science class. You know what it really ties into, though? Your teacher's showing you a movie so you don't have to learn today. Let's not pretend we don't remember being in class and not wanting to do work. I remember constantly trying, or other students would do this constantly, where they would try to get the teacher to just go on a tangent about their weekend or their personal life, or doesn't matter. The more you're talking about useless stuff, the less work we got to do today. Smart. None of my students cared or batted an eye. They didn't even know this was a big deal until the board member and the state made it a big deal, she said. They're using it against me, saying they're protecting the children and it's for their safety, but it's but what is this actually showing them? Well, it's showing them that they're going to be sensitive little kids and aren't going to be able to function in society. You know, gay people exist, and you're gonna have to work with them. So if you can't handle watching a movie with a gay person in it as a child, you're not going to be able to function as an adult. That's just a fact. I remember seeing the Buzz Lightyear movie in theaters, and they cut out the gay scene for whatever reason. There was and it wasn't even a gay scene. It was like two women who were married kissing each other really quick. It wasn't even a big deal. I looked it up after because I was interested, you know. Bro, like, kids have to be introduced to these themes. Like, that you don't need to go into explicit, like, oh, the depths of it, but, like, you know, straight people exist. You need to know about that. Gay people exist. You need to know about that. It's not that big of a deal. If you're going to have a meltdown because two gay people exist, like, you're going to have a bad life. You're not going to be able to function. You're too much of a sensitive little baby. And it's funny because conservatives always call, like, kids, especially on TikTok, sensitive little babies, and there's a good argument there. But how are you going to be the sensitive baby yourself? What's wrong with you? Barbie said every student in her class had a signed parent permission slip that said PG movies were allowed. Not that one, though. The movie was PG. How bad could it be? Florida's parental rights and education law, dubbed Don't Say Gay by critics, bans classroom instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity. Well, apparently it is really the Don't Say Gay bill. Or don't be gay, Bill. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what she says on her. This is her TikTok page. I guess they dressed up for it.
Do you want to build a better you?
All right, well, the teacher is cringe. Cringe alert.
You're getting stronger every day.
All right, relax.
I speak for the trees.
Sorry, this isn't the actual video we're supposed to be watching. This is so cringe. I
speak for the
I feel like this is something my wife would think is cute, and I would just like tell my wife I wouldn't be showing up to like parent conferences. It's just so cringe. This is a movie. I think they're singing the Lorax. Okay. All right. She seems like a nice person and probably an okay teacher, I suppose. Anyway, let's see what we got here. Here's what we came for. Let's get this going. I am the teacher who is under investigation for indoctrination for showing a Disney movie. If they really call it indoctrination, though, like, what is indoctrination to you now? Seeing a gay person, that's indoctrination. Like, indoctrination, like, what does this mean? What? I don't understand. Like, we're just throwing words around. Like a buzzword now. It doesn't mean anything.
Hi, my name is Jenna Barbie.
Okay.
I'm the teacher that is under investigation with the Florida Department of Education for indoctrination for showing a Disney movie. I just wanted to come here and tell you my truth, my story about what actually happened.
Okay.
So I'm a first year teacher and a first time mom. So needless to say, had a lot of learning to do this year. So how the situation came to be, our students had standardized testing all morning. So some students didn't finish. So in the afternoon, part of my students who didn't finish went to a different teacher's classroom, and she split her kids amongst the other 5th grade teachers. So due to the fact that they spent their morning state standardized testing, I had a lot of students
Oh, so they took a movie because I'm unfinished or something.
not in my room who typically are, and I had another teacher students in my room.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a great time to give them a brain break by showing a movie that related to what we were learning about in school.
Okay.
Other 5th grade classes did this as well. So I want to bring up the issue that I'm in
I would have rather watched Cars.
trouble for. I was told by every teacher and mentor at our school that our method for approval by administration of showing movies was to have a signed parent permission slip for PG movies.
Yeah, sure.
I had that from the beginning of the year. The whole 5th grade team had signed permission slips for PG movies with no objections to specific content. I actually had one student who did have objection to specific content, not showing the Buzz Lightyear movie, but she wasn't in my classroom anymore, so it wasn't a big deal. The reason I was turned in is because one of the
Wait, not seeing the Buzz... Why not the Buzz Lightyear movie? Because there was the gay kissing scene in it? That's what I'm talking about. How sensitive do you have to be? Like, this is a form of sensitivity. If you want to teach your kids to be homophobic and, like, whatever, but you have to learn to deal with gay people, and you shouldn't be homophobic. Oh, no, it's scratching off. Whatever. You shouldn't be homophobic, obviously. But if you can't deal with gay people, your kids will be failures because, like, gay people exist, and you're going to have to work with them. You're going to have to learn to respect them. Like, that's just how it is. Like, oh my God, you have to respect people that are different than you. Oh no, have your beliefs, whatever, but learn to separate those beliefs from, like, the real world. If you can't let your kids... The Buzz Lightyear movie wasn't good, but it had nothing to do with the kissing scene. If you can't let your kids sit through the movie, like, your kid is going to be a weak little baby that's not going to be able to function in society. Like, you're hurting your kid by not... by not having them be able to see the existence of a gay character. Like, you're making them too sensitive. There's no indoctrination. They're not going to turn gay from seeing the movie. If they did, they were already gay. Like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, but okay.
split students was a school board member's daughter. That school board member is currently on a rampage to get rid of every form of representation out of our schools. She even spent days this past week going to all the high schools to get rid of anything that had to do with representation whatsoever.
All right, modern day book burning, guys. This is freaking based. That's what this is, right? Like, I understand that there are some material that, like, that we found that one book that was like an 18+ book in a library at a school. Like, I get that being inappropriate, but most books are not like that. It's just like, here's a gay person. They exist. And it's like, no, my kid can't learn that. Why? Like, what are you? That's fucking crazy.
She even had admin escort her to a teacher's classroom that had a sticker of a black hand and a white hand holding hands, and the white hand had a different color fingernail for every finger.
It's just like kind of cringe, I guess, but who cares? Like,
so the school board member called.
Why the black people aren't allowed to paint their hands colors, huh? You can't let the black guy or girl, I don't know, there's just a hand, I really wouldn't know. You wouldn't let them have rainbow nails, huh? woke person who made that sign.
Called the Department of Education on me for indoctrination before ever.
Papa DeSantis is justified in his hatred of gay people because he can't handle their sexiness and he'll die. That's actually the best argument that anybody's ever given to me as to why Florida doesn't like gay people. Unironically, it is the best argument. Because there's no actual argument.
Coming to our school to talk with me or admin about the situation. When she did come to our school, she came as a school board member, and our principal said, no, you can come as a concerned parent, but then you need to schedule a meeting. So she did. She came.
So she's not really a school, but she's a school board member. She got voted in or however it works because she's a bored parent that makes too much money, and now she's home all day. She's a stay-at-home mom. Let's be real. She's a stay-at-home mom that has nothing better to do all day than to harass the school over dumb bullshit. Take your kid out of school. Just homeschool them at that point. Like if you don't want to teach your kid to be a functioning member of society, then just do that. Like Jesus Christ, this stuff goes so far. So this is such a nothing burger.
Came in later that day, and Adam was in and out of my room, pulled me out, and we had a meeting, and I understood her perspective okay, she really doesn't want this shown at her house.
So just not your house. Cucked.
I never saw that perspective before, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But seeing how upset she was, I told her, I understand my lesson. That's that.
I would have laughed in her face. It's easy to say I would have laughed in this woman's face because I'm not a teacher and like my job isn't potentially on the line. For her perspective, it's like, oh man, I got pulled into a classroom. My job is on the line now. Or I got pulled into a meeting about a fucking Disney movie I showed. Could you imagine? Just imagine you got pulled into a meeting about a Disney movie. All right, like that's wild, dude. We had gym teachers who would still play dodgeball in class, and that's like a banned sport, at least in my school, because people got hurt and they didn't even get talked to. But the kids could actually get hurt. There's a reason why they stopped letting people play dodgeball. But like this isn't even harmful. It's just a movie, and that's like a threat to your job to the point where you're like, I saw her perspective. I would have laughed at her, said, "You're a baby. You're being a stinky little baby." This is crazy.
But come to find out, she had already reported me, and there was nothing she can do about it.
Okay.
So I chose this movie because it relates to our curriculum. Our unit at the time was Earth Science and ecosystems and how they interact. Plants, humans, animals. So this movie is perfect. My thought process was, what a better way to showcase.
Guys, it's a government psyop from Disney. The Disney psyop. To make you watch the movie Strange World if you haven't. This is a shallow attempt to boost sales. The concerned mother, she's just a Disney representative. Isn't that incredible? I figured it out.
All these standards, along with huge lessons of overcoming differences, spreading kindness, communication, and chasing your dreams. A lot of which are in our social emotional Florida Best standards as well. Is a character in the movie LGBTQ? Absolutely. Is that why I showed it? No. I have a lot of 5th grade students who have come to me this year.
How old are you in 5th grade? Like 10, 12, 5th? How old are you in 12th grade? 11. Okay, yeah, whatever. You're old enough to know gay people exist.
Long before showing this movie, talking about how they're...
I mean, if you're 1 year old, you're old enough to know. Like, literally, like if my 4-year-old's like, what's a gay person? It's just like, oh, it's just somebody who loves... If it's a boy, they love boys. If it's a girl, they love girls. Or we'll get into the non-binary conversation when they're a little older. That's just a confusing one, I think. But like that's it. You should be able to know that what a gay person is. They're gonna have to know because I have gay family. What is that one? What's going on over here? What's such and such doing? It's love. Why did because I don't want to say who, but why did this person kiss this person? That's they love each other. That's really what it's about.
Part of that community as well, and it's not a big deal to me, so I just said, okay, that's awesome, do you. Not pushing anything, just being accepting. That's what I do. Does that have anything to do with why I showed it? Not in the slightest. The LGBTQ aspect of the movie, they're harmless. It's just a talked about crush, and it's only a couple lines in total scene time.
Oh, is that all it is? A couple of lines about they have a crush on a guy or something?
Of just over 2 minutes. The parents in the movie kiss a lot, and that wasn't even brought up.
Ah, I guess they're straight parents and they kiss all the time. I see. Yeah, that's silly.
And that's the issue. I also want to bring up the fact that none of my students cared or batted an eye. They didn't even know this was a big deal until the board member and the state made it a big deal. They're using it against me.
Isn't that interesting, though? Think about that. Like, the kids watch this movie, and they don't even care. They're just like, they're sitting there. They're probably not even paying attention. They're probably on their cell phones. These kids nowadays, am I right? Kids nowadays. Shush, you know? I wonder how teachers are going to be, I wonder how teachers are going to deal with iPad kids, like MacBook kids or whatever, sitting at the table eating fucking at Denny's, like shoveling food in your mouth while you're looking at an iPad. How are they going to deal with that? Anyway, that's interesting because now those kids, it's nothing is wrong with the movie, and then you're telling them there's something wrong. Now in their head, they're like, oh my God, this is a wrong thing. Like, what a weird thing to do. You're creating, like, you really are generating some form of a victim complex in these kids.
Saying they're protecting the children and it's for their safety, but what is this actually showing them? Their teacher showed a movie to help them connect to our curriculum and learn some valuable life lessons, but the minor representations that have nothing to do with the movie are such a big deal that now admin is in their room pulling their teacher out, calling the students one by one down to the office to interrogate them in the middle of my lessons. And now there is an investigator from the Florida Department of Education coming to pull my students out of class again to investigate them individually. And by the way, they don't even have to have a signed parent permission slip for that. This investigator is allowed to come and pull them out, and a letter got sent home to some of the students, but I doubt a lot of my parents are even going to get it. And if they don't call and object, the interrogator is allowed to just pull them out. Do you know the trauma that is going to cause to some of my students?
All right, relax. Not going to cause a trauma. Relax. All right. It's inappropriate, but we don't have to go that. You know, although they're calling her an indoctrinator. I don't know. You know what I mean? So still.
Students, they are 5th graders. Some of them can barely come up and have a conversation with me and are just getting comfortable with me, and now an investigator is allowed to...
Is that normal for a 5th grader?
...come and interrogate them?
Well, that might be a little upsetting. I don't want to throw the word trauma around loosely, but...
Are you kidding me? What is that showing them? This is the public education system, where students from all backgrounds, cultures, and religions are welcomed and should be celebrated and represented.
Not in Florida. In all honesty, my wife and I have been discussing going to Florida and like moving to Florida for our kids, and like we just... This, like, unironically is one of those things that's like makes us go, yeah, probably not. Because the education system already in Florida is not that good. Let's be real. It's not exactly nothing to write home about. We would have to have them send them to a private school. But now with this kind of shit, it's like, this is stupid. You know? And I'm not even particularly thrilled about the other side either. You know, I went to a graduation recently, and listening to the way that the presenters were talking, not the students, because they barely got to talk, because for some reason it's all about the special guest who won't shut the fuck up. It's all a bunch of virtue signaling nonsense. And I'm not saying that, like, you know, when they bring up indigenous issues or gay issues, that it's not a real issue. It is. There's real issues, but they talk about it in a way that's so self-serving. It's like, I do this and I'm a, you know, and it's like they don't even go into the actual issue facing anybody. They just like to say, I care about this, and it just doesn't seem like they do. Hard to communicate. Maybe I'm just being a little bit of a boomer. But, like, it seems like maybe some of these colleges are a little too liberal. You know? I didn't think I'd say it. But then you got these places that are a little too conservative. I just want my kid to go to a normal place where they're like, hey, systemic racism exists, systemic oppression exists, but we don't have to pretend, we don't have to speak like we should give the land back, but then not say it. Because that was how they're talking. Like, oh my God, we stole this land, basically. So then tell people to give it back. If you're going to say that we stole it, if you do that, that's fine. You know, I think it was just a terrible tragedy. We should just move forward. But the way they're talking here, it's like, oh, and indigenous this, and oh, we did such terrible things. And I was like, okay, well, then just be like, we should give it back. Quit your job or something. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm probably just boomer ranting. But it seemed you'd have to be there, guys. You wouldn't want to be there because they didn't have the AC on. Probably just boomer ranting a little bit. My point is, bro, like, what the hell's happening?
I am not, and never would indoctrinate anyone to follow my beliefs.
I would. If I was, I'm Catholic. I'm a Christian, so I would definitely indoctrinate my children, because that's what you do as somebody who's religious. You indoctrinate your child into religion. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I mean, but that is technically what you're doing, no? So, What, are you just not happy? Is the wrong type of indoctrination? Is that what your problem is? This isn't the right kind. My kids should not know or like gay people. But they absolutely should learn about the guy who talked to a burning bush. That's important. By the way, dinosaur fossils? Test from God, dinosaurs never existed. You know, I always thought, you know how people are like, oh, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Wouldn't it be like Adam and like Evan? Wouldn't that make more sense? You know, because if I was going to name, if I liked that name Eve and I had a boy, I'd be like, well, I guess Evan works, not Steve. I know it rhymes, but it just kind of makes more sense, right? I'm just saying.
I will, however, always be a safe person to come to that spreads the message of kindness, positivity, and compassion for everyone. That is the key to the safety for our children. That is the key message that everyone needs to find in their heart and understand.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
I was taking stuff off the walls the other day, and I had a student come to me and say, Miss Barbie, why are you doing this? And it's because of the new law that was put out.
Eve is in the name Steve, I guess, but I feel like Evan is more like Eve. Steve is like stevia. I prefer Splenda.
Out about everything being standards. And I said, well, this is what's happening. And they said, why don't we get a say?
Wait, who said?
That's a good point.
Who said
why
what? What happened?
And I had a student come to me and say, Miss Barbie, why are you doing this? And it's because of the new law that was put out about everything being standards. And I said, well, this is what's happening. And they said, why don't we get a say?
I don't think that happened. I'm with her here, but I don't think that part happened. That's like when people are like, oh, my 3-year-old told me today that they're tired of Donald Trump's oppression. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you didn't. But maybe they did, but I don't think that they looked at her and said, why don't we get a say, Miss Rachel? What is her name? Barbie, Miss Barbie.
That's a good point.
It's a great
point. Why don't you get a say? Okay. If you haven't seen the Disney movie Strange World, I highly recommend it.
See? It's all a Disney plant. None of this is real. It's just trying to jack up the sales of Strange World merchandise.
And for those of you who are throwing hate my way without knowing me or my true intentions, you may learn a thing or two from that movie. Follow your heart. Find the compassion. Find the kindness. It's the key to a better, positive life. Thank you.
Woo. All right, cool.